This is the Evening Buzz, presented by Mikail Atiyeh.
We got some really great new updates at the Capcom Spotlight for this month. And now, if you're fans of Monster Hunter Wilds, we got some new updates for that. Street Fighter 6. But I'm going to be lasering in on the new details for the upcoming Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil Requiem, as they did a whole gameplay overview of this game, and it got me a little bit geeky, I'll be honest, because we got more details than we were asking for, honestly. And starting off with the fact that they apparently underwent significant changes during its development. Apparently, Resident Evil Requiem in its early process had the team experimenting with some ambitious ideas, including an open world structure and online multiplayer elements. Oof. Now, I don't know how I really felt about this, and there were rumors about it before the game's reveal during the Summer Game Fest. I just don't know how you can make that work. It's supposed to stay horror, right? So if you made it open world, I don't know, some of that horror element gets kind of stripped away, and the fact that it's also multiplayer, and multiplayer with horror, again, it fizzles out more of that with it. And I'll be honest, Resident Evil hasn't had Capcom hasn't had the best track record when it comes to multiplayer experiences in the Resident Evil franchise. A lot of them are bare bones or just underwhelming. They never really go past being something that could surpass the single player experience. Apparently, these versions featured multiple protagonists and lean more heavily into the action. See, we're going back to Resident Evil 6 territory here, and I think they realized that. They were like, we cannot go back to this, even though it would be cool and fun, but it's against the identity of Resident Evil. And so, after internal testing and consideration of fan expectations, Capcom ultimately abandoned those ideas. Director Koshi Nakanishi and producer Masachika Kawata, butchering these names, explained in a recent developer diary that the experiments were promising, but failed to capture the essence of what players want from a Resident Evil title. They know that after the huge resurgence from Resident Evil 7 and the return to horror from that game alone and everything they've done up to that point, all the goodwill, all the fanfare will die if they try to make Resident Evil more action-oriented. They can't go back to repeating the same mistakes of the past. And I think they even realize this. And so the team decided to go back to the drawing board and realign the project with the franchise's survival horror roots. Thank you. It's nice to see developers actually take the time to consider the ramifications of risky decisions like this. The final version of Resident Evil Requiem is set for early 2026, and they did showcase a few things about it. The new protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, who is apparently this FBI intelligence analyst. She's described as an introvert, but she's also a bit of she's also smart. And unlike the combat veteran that we know, that Leon S. Kennedy, which was mentioned in the interview, because the thing is, it is taking place 30 years after the events of Resident Evil 3, and obviously, this would be a chance for returning characters from the Raccoon City to perhaps make a return. Claire Redfield, Leon S. Kennedy, Jill Valentine. But even they realized that putting characters like Leon, it would not be all that great, because he's not someone that is, afraid. He's a hardened combat veteran. And so he will definitely lean more to being an action hero than a protagonist that is vulnerable, that could actually be afraid of the things that they're facing up against. So it was important to create a character with those vulnerabilities and those fears to make it to give a more relatable horror lead, and one that will mirror the player's own tension and uncertainty. And so I'm glad that Capcom is emphasizing on this. They know that they have to keep this is how this type of experience can work. I know it'd be nice to bring in some, returning fan favorites. And I'll be honest, the way they were downplaying Leon in the interview made me feel that he will be showing up. I'm not sure if we're going to be playing as him like the way they did in Resident Evil 8, where you play as Chris Redfield. Honestly, I remember that section when I played it, it just suddenly turned into Call of Duty for 20 minutes. It took me out of the experience. So I don't know if they're going to do the same thing here. But there are going to be returning characters. Who knows? But I know if Leon shows up, it's going to be a big fanfare. And really another great thing that they're doing this time, something they implemented in the Resident Evil future expansions and future DLCs, is the ability to play first person and third person. But this time around, you can switch between these two perspectives seamlessly, which is perhaps the first in a Resident Evil game. And I think it's going to be absolutely great because it makes depending on your preference and the perspective you want, it can make the experience really tight and claustrophobic and just really horror oriented. That's what we want from this. I find myself most of the time, I'm sure I'm going to be playing first person. I think that's where Resident Evil is at its strongest. Maybe there will be times I'll switch to third person if I want to see, the environment in a different light. But the fact that you can switch between those two perspectives and have different emotional reactions out of it is what's going to make this game just absolutely excel in all departments. So I think there's a lot of promise behind Resident Evil Requiem. The developers are aware that this is a game that needs to stay true to its identity, to what people know and love about Resident Evil, and they do not downplay it whatsoever. They are doubling down on that fear factor very hard. We saw some of the gameplay footage, and it looks, I'm glad that they don't show too much, just the character kind of running around in dark hallways. There's some sort of stalking creature in the dark. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what it is, but it's constantly following her, which great. Keep those elements a surprise. Just make us wonder. I think the fear of not knowing what it is makes it even scarier. So that's really another, you're seeing a team here that knows exactly what they're doing. They understand what the fans want and expect. And I really think they're going to deliver this time. They're just going to do a great job. And I cannot wait for February fast enough. I need this game now. But I'm willing to wait if it means we get an experience that's going to be timeless and unforgettable and absolutely scary. We're waiting for Resident Evil Requiem. Do let me know what you think. Are you excited as well? Share your thoughts and opinion right here on The Evening Buzz. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment right here on Pulse 95.